Despite the Carolina Hurricanes and the Chicago Wolves splitting their back-to-backs over the weekend, there is still a lot of optimism for the fans with the games coming up later this week.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes writer over at the Hockey Bears. I also write a column on the Chicago Wolves called Wolves Weekly. I'm the co-host of the Surgecast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a show for you guys on today's Monday episode as we get to recap the Penguins and the Blues game as the Hurricanes split those over Friday and Saturday. Get to talk about those in detail, what kind of stood out to me in both of those games. We also get to hear from Rod Brind'Amour, Shayne Gostisbehere, and Jordan Staal post-game on Saturday after their very close loss to the Blues. And then we also get to finish up talking about the Chicago Wolves and how they split their back-to-back in Hershey against the two-time defending Calder Cup champions. But before we get into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So like I said, the Carolina Hurricanes over the weekend, Friday and Saturday, started their 6-game road trip on Friday in Pittsburgh against the Penguins. And on Saturday, they played the St. Louis Blues in St. Louis before they went out to Western Canada and the Pacific Northwest. Now, the Friday game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Hurricanes, I would say probably have played the most dominant game so far this season. Of course, we're still very early on, but from start to finish, that was probably the most dominant game the Hurricanes played from, puck drop on. While they did give up the first goal of the game to Drew O'Connor, it was basically Carolina right from after that, with Jackson Blake getting his second goal of the season, which is back-to-back games for him scoring, along with Martin Necas getting his first of the season on the power play. Shayne Gostisbehere got his second in back-to-back games also on the power play, and then Jack Roslovic scored his first with the Hurricanes. So despite going down 1-0, partway through the first period, didn't take long for the Hurricanes to tie it up, and then it was basically all of them right from the jump. And the thing, too, is special teams really stood out in this game because it's something I talked about when the previews is, the guys start, limiting the penalties, got to get special teams rolling, and that's what they did. The penalty killers held the Penguins to 0 out of 5, so they went a perfect 5 for 5 on the penalty kill and went 2 for 4 on the power play. And that's something you really like to see out of the Hurricanes, where you look at how the first few games didn't really go their way in terms of special teams, where, the PK was kind of picking it up from there, but the power play was still, over at that point, haven't really scored a goal yet in their first 2 games of the season. So you're going to technically your third game of the season against the Penguins. You're hoping that, you take your 0 for 5 on the power play, at least do something with it. And they did. Like I said, they scored 2 goals in the second period, both on the power play from Necas and Shayne Gostisbehere. And just the fact that the penalty killer stood up huge, too, for the fact they went 5 for 5, of course. The last one was under 2 minutes left. So when the game ended, there was still time left on the power play for the Penguins. But since the game ended, that just came out as a 0 on the Penguin side of things. So the Hurricanes won a perfect 5 for 5 after going 7 for 10 to start the season. So it's a nice little boost for them, honestly, when you're looking at how, it's your first game of a back-to-back. You're about ready to go on your really long road trip. But you come out and you play your most dominant game. And of course we'll talk about, Saturday's game here in a little bit. But just overall, how you go into Pittsburgh, you hold Sidney Crosby to no points, even Evgeny Malkin. And, just the way they smothered, one of the greatest players in Crosby, who just got a 1600th point, and probably had in terms of just his overall game, probably the worst he had in a long time. So it goes to show how much the defense and just the whole team overall was able to shut the door on them. And Frederik Andersen, I mean, how about having a game for himself too, where you look at how he comes off the first game, played all right. You want to expect a little bit more out of your starter. He only gave up 2 goals, But in this one, he only gave up one goal, had a 962 save percentage, and saved 25 of 26. Of course, it was an even strength. But even then, though, too, for the fact that you're talking, 25 out of 26, you'll take that if you're a netminder. Power play, face-off percentage wasn't great. The Hurricanes were 47.4, the Pittsburgh Penguins 52.6, but just overall how this game went for them too. Like Jesper Kotkaniemi got 2 points and Martin Necas as well. And KK's been playing very well. And even in that game, he did get 100. He got his 100th career assist. So congratulations to Jesper Kotkaniemi for hitting that milestone in terms of also just everything else was going on in the game. Like I said, with the special teams that, I talked about last season, how you try to look at game by game, like, is it a plus minus for how the special teams went? And the Hurricanes, all things considered, win a +7 in the special teams. You got 2 power play goals. You went 5 for 5 on the PK. I consider that a huge success, and that's a +7. You'll take that on any special team side. If you're even like a +2 or a +3, that's still a pretty decent night. When you're a +7, you'll take that on the special team side of things. So that's a special, that's a very unique special team stat that I like to kind of use here and there, just talking about how you look at the positives and negatives of just how that went for them. But yeah, a lot of nights of first, Jack Roslovic got his first goal as a Carolina Hurricane. Love to see that from the new guy. Eric Robinson has been playing very, very well in that fourth line with Jack Drury and Jackson Blake. And Rod Brind'Amour said, just of how that line's been playing, he has to keep finding them more minutes because they're being a very consistent line for, it gives the Hurricanes more opportunities to play 4 lines throughout the games. And I don't think there's a lot of things that a lot of people were expecting for that fourth line to be playing so well, but they really have been. And how about Jackson Blake? Back-to-back goals, and even this one was really great, too, putting himself in a good spot. Eric Robinson finding him right on the corner and just didn't waste any time. He just put the puck on the net, and he scored. And for the fact that he's not afraid to shoot the puck. Even in the Blues game, he had 5 shots on goal really early on. And like I said, against the Pittsburgh Penguins, he scored his second goal of the season. And at this point, he's second on the team in goals. So it's it's good to see a young guy like that who was not afraid to shoot the puck. And, and even, Brind'Amour and Gostisbehere and all these guys are talking about it too, is the fact that Blake has been working really hard in the offseason. He's earned everything he's done. And you even heard from him too, he's been putting in the effort and wanting to get better every day. And you're seeing that. And it's good to see that the fact that the coaches and his teammates are seeing how confident this kid already is. And that's why he's a Hobey Baker finalist. 60 points, 20 goals. That's really good for a product of North Dakota, where he comes in, plays really well at NCAA, gets his NHL debut last season. I mean, he doesn't do a whole lot, but, we're talking 4 games into the season. He's already gotten 2 goals. He's looking very confident and has given himself more opportunities to get more ice time with the group that he's on, that fourth line with Robinson and Drury, who've been looking really good. And just the fact that just the dynamic of how Drury is as a center and Eric Robinson using his sneaky speed and his body, it's been really being able to help set up Blake, who's been putting himself in the right spots and, not getting hesitant to shoot the puck. He's just shooting right away. So you'll have to see that for him. And how about Shayne Gostisbehere, scoring another goal back-to-back games, also on the power play after the Martin Necas one. And even it was funny how Shayne Gostisbehere said he was just tired. He was just trying to put the puck on the net. But once again, just being able to find a spot to where he's, putting the pucks on net and just getting the proper screens that he needs. So you go into the Pittsburgh game and just you're rolling the whole time. You score 4 goals, 4 straight. You actually the Penguins by a lot from start to finish. 10-4 in the first, 18-7 in the second. Of course, Pittsburgh had 15 of 11, but you finished with 39 shots compared to the Penguins 26. And like I said, you're just rolling from start to finish. Like I said, you go down early. But there was one point where the Hurricanes were up 10-2 on shots. So they were pretty much dominating the Penguins for the most part, outside the Pittsburgh Penguins scoring their first goal on probably the most impossible shot that you can ever think of, but it just kind of worked out in their favor. But if you look at just how that game went overall, you can't be too upset for the Carolina Hurricanes and how you just put in a total team effort against the Pittsburgh Penguins, and you get, your second straight win of the season. We're going into St. Louis, you're hoping to kind of roll that into the next one as well. But unfortunately, it was not the case, as the Hurricanes Did lose to the St. Louis Blues, but it was a very contested effort, honestly, from start to finish. And one that you kind of have to be happy for if you're Carolina Hurricanes fan is the fact that he didn't really quit. They did outshoot the Blues 40-19, which, it's kind of one of those things where, you outmuscle the other team. You start out shooting them like crazy when unfortunately it's just, quality over quantity and stuff like that just kind of worked out in the Blues' favor to where they scored 4 goals on 19 shots, with the Canes scoring 3 on 40. And the thing, when you look at the shot totals, 19-4 in the first period for the Canes. Then Blues had 11-8, and then the Canes had 13-4 in the third period. So you look at the first and third periods, it was probably those were the best periods of the game for the Hurricanes. It's just a lot of penalties in the second period really kind of shoestringed them and really kept on the PK a lot, and it kind of burned them. And that's the thing that we saw this last year too. The second period wasn't really the best forte for the Hurricanes for the most part for good portions of the season. And you kind of saw it too, where it really bit them in that second period as it went along too. When you look at just in terms of the penalties, I mean, yeah, luckily the PK unit went 4 for 4. You'll take that, and the power play went 1 for 3. So you're back to a +5 if you're the Hurricanes. Because you got back-to-back games with the power play goal. You really want to see that, and the fact that your penalty killers shut it down once again. So they're 0 for 9 to start the trip. So to me, that's really good for the fact that after the slow start in the first couple of games, you go into a back-to-back. You're tired. You just traveled, after playing Pittsburgh the night before. You go in, your PK unit stands tall. Now you're 9 for 9 to start the trip. You'll take that. So you're a +5 in terms of the special teams on that Saturday game. So if you take that and that +7 from Friday, your special teams unit after 2 games is a +12. So that's a great thing to have when you're looking at the special teams matchups of how are you faring so far on the power play and the penalty kill combined. So the Hurricanes are a +12. You'll take that with just going 5 for 5 on the PK on Pittsburgh, 4 for 4 against the Blues, and then you get 3 power play goals and 7 chances. You'll take that. You'll take that if you're the Carolina Hurricanes and the fans as well. But just as the game is rolling along, of course, you score early. Andrej Svechnikov gets his first of the season. You love to see that, just a minute 21 in. But then the second period, like I said, just kind of really killed the Hurricanes for the most part. The Blues did score 3 goals, and it was really in quick succession, too. You got Matthew Joseph getting his second of the season at 10:22. Jake Neighbors gets his second of the season at 11:35. And then Dylan Holloway gets his first at 13:31. So it's 3 goals in pretty quick succession within 3 minutes of each other. But then, the curse of the Hurricanes came back in the third period, tied it up pretty fast, too. Shayne Gostisbehere gets his third of the season on the power play once again, just a minute 39 in. And then Jack Roslovic, back-to-back games with a goal, gets his not long after at 2:57, and you're tied. But then, unfortunately, Kasperi Kapanen gets at 4:26 to give the Blues a lead once again, and then ultimately that was the game winner. But overall, I mean, it's a game that you wish you would have back, but you're coming off a back-to-back. You are shooting the lights out. It's just unfortunately, you really can't give, the Blues they went 0 for 4 on the power play, but you can't really give them a lot of breakaways. You can't really give them chances to put pucks on them against your goalie in good spaces. And then unfortunately, Pierre Kachekov, saved 15 and 19, but he did have a .789 save percentage. You hate to see it for Piotr. There's probably a couple he wants back, but Rod even said it too here in the second segment, is that you really can't give the Blues a breakaway. You can't give them all these high danger chances. Yeah, they shot a lot less than the Hurricanes, but they also had a lot of more high danger quality opportunities, and that's what you saw, and that's how they killed the Hurricanes, unfortunately, in that second period. So that's just something you kind of have to come back from, is that you have to play a full 60, and you can't just get out of your rhythm, which they did in the second period. So overall, I mean, the Hurricanes have played a really solid 8 periods of hockey over the last few, since Tuesday's game against the New Jersey Devils. It's just one of those things where the second period against the Blues kind of killed you. You played a great first and third. You did come back. You tied the game, after being down 3-1. It's just unfortunately, you like Kasperi Kapanen score, and there's your game winner, and you do split the start of the road trip, which, I mean, it does give you some optimism going into the rest of the trip for the fact that you didn't roll over and just let the game get away from you against the Blues. Still had a lot of great quality chances, even very early, very late in the game. It's just unfortunately didn't work in your favor. Like I said, special teams played, they did their jobs. Like I said, went 4 for 4 on the PK, got a power play goal. It's just one of those things where you give the Blues way too many high danger chances and they capitalized on them. And that second period got away from you. So it's just the one thing I'll say is, great for Jack Roslovic going back-to-back games with the goal. And how about Shayne Gostisbehere being on a heater right now? Three straight games of the goal, back-to-back games of the power play goal. And that's kind of what you really want out of the guy who's your, power play one specialist. He's doing his job, and that's something you really love to see. But you love to have both those games. But I mean, even like I said, on a back-to-back, you're traveling after Pittsburgh. I can understand why you might be tired, why you might be a little bit sluggish, but you came out firing in the first period, getting 19 shots. It's just that second period. That's all I can really say. That was kind of like the Achilles heel of the Hurricanes in that period. But overall, you still feel optimistic going into the rest of the trip. You got Edmonton on Tuesday. Yeah, they've won recently, but you still have a good feeling that you might be able to catch the Edmonton Oilers by surprise and get some points out of that one, no matter how that goes. And then, you got a day off before you go to, Calgary, and then how the rest of your trip goes. But overall, like I said, it stinks to lose. It stinks to split the back-to-back, but like I said, it gives you optimism going into the Tuesday game against Edmonton and see how that goes, especially with how, you didn't roll over and die against St. Louis. You kept that game really close. You fought hard all game, put the shots on, did what you needed to do. The special teams showed up once again. It's just, unfortunately, a middle period stink bit you once again like it did last year. But like I said, nothing to really worry about. It's just you kind of hope they come back from that and just do what they did against Pittsburgh, learn from what they did against St. Louis, and then get ready for Tuesday against the Edmonton Oilers. But guys, make sure to stick around here as we'll be listening to the Rod Brind'Amour, Shayne Gostisbehere, and Jordan Staal press conferences post-game on Saturday. I'll give you my thoughts on what they said as we start getting ready to start the rest of the trip, especially with Western Canada coming up on Tuesday in Edmonton. So stick around as we'll listen to all of that here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need a hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. The one thing I like about Indeed is the fact that I can put in like all my certificates, special licenses, job preferences, just whatever you want to look for in a job, website. It'll help you find the job that you're looking for. And even if you're a business, the more you use it, the more it helps you out. Because by leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. That's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? Well, you need Indeed. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said at the end of segment 1, we're going to jump into the interviews with Rod Brind'Amour, Shayne Gostisbehere, and Jordan Staal following the game on Saturday against the St. Louis Blues. So without further ado, let's jump in to hear it from those guys right now.
Obviously, difficult loss with this one here tonight. You have some momentum in the first, handful of penalties in the second. What ultimately made it most difficult?
Yeah, I mean, we played a great first period and a great third period. We just had a couple. The penalties, kind of took us out of our game, got them their life, and then they scored on their chances. I mean, that's pretty much what happened tonight. Unfortunately, came back in the third really well, and they took a little breather, turned the puck over at the neutral zone, and then, they went in and scored on their chance, and that's basically what happened.
What did you see from Pyotr Kochetkov tonight?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you can't fault him on the goals, but we got to, hopefully, you want to try to get one of those, just to keep us in the game, especially after we came back, but can't give up a breakaway there. Right after we kind of get back in the game, that's the game,
Shayne Gostisbehere now with goals in 3 straight games. What have you seen that's kind of made him effective?
Well, he's, got a great shot from the blue line there, and he's finding ways to get him through, and hopefully that continues.
It's still a long road trip ahead. How do you kind of just regroup, keep the mentality?
These are the tough losses because you probably deserve better. You played pretty well. it's just, it is what it is. I mean, you're going to have to move on, and we'll pick up the pieces tomorrow and then get a good practice and get ready for the next one. But, I mean, in general, you got to like what we did tonight. It was I think, I don't know what the chances ended up, but I'm sure that it was pretty lopsided, and certainly felt that way. We were doing a lot of good things. We just, like I said, a couple things didn't go our way, and we weren't able to score. We had a couple good chances right at the end. We had one. We did all we could.
And finally, just a couple of concerning moments with Andrei Svechnikov and Brent Burns. Any sort of, they seem okay?
Yeah, I don't know yet. I mean, it's, obviously, I'm hoping that they'll be fine. They finished the game, so that's good. But there's always the next day is when these things seem to catch up to you. So, we battled. I mean, we all these guys are exhausted. They gave it everything they had. We had a couple mental lapses that ended up in the back of our net.
Tonight, just in terms of the second period, what were your takeaways? I know it was hard with a handful of penalties.
Yeah, for sure. I took 2 bad ones tonight. You can't really do that. It lets their best players touch the puck and, get a feeling for it. Obviously we dominated in the first, and it was pretty evident. And, we come out and, I personally take two stupid penalties, and, gets their top guys going. They're going to feel the puck, and, they're going to start making their plays and get their confidence for the game. And, you just kind of saw it leading to the second, and, we had little lapses here and there, and, take a couple shifts off, and, we're chasing the game after that.
I know on the positive side, the power play obviously able to execute 3 straight for you in 3 straight games. Is there anything that you've particularly noticed that's been working out?
No, I mean, it's a work in progress. Different teams kill differently. Roddy's been giving us a good blueprint to, what works against that. So, for us to, get some, obviously some positive out of it, making plays and, getting some, results, helps too.
What are the keys just turning the page moving forward, the long road trip ahead?
Yeah, for sure. That was our first real test of the season, playing a back-to-back, coming into a tough barn. Team been playing pretty well to start the season, and, we're going to the gauntlet pretty much. The Western Canada road trip's pretty tough, and, we got to get our stuff together, and we'll be there.
Third period was good. We were battling hard, but yeah, they made us pay on a couple quick mistakes, and it was in the back of our net, and we can't make those mistakes, and that's pretty much the end of the game. And you got to get more and more goals, and in this league it's tough to get goals, and that was kind of the end of the game there.
On a positive note, early in the season, still you have Gostisbehere goals in 3 straight games. You have Roslovic back-to-back. Just in terms of the new additions, what have you noticed so far?
Yeah, great players. Obviously, they know how to put the puck in the back of the net, and we need that. And Ghost has been dynamite in the power play. You can tell the way it moves, and he changes the whole dynamic. And Rose got an absolute ripper, and he had a couple big goals for us, but. Goals are good, but wins are better, and we got to find a way to keep it out of our net.
A couple of concerning moments. Andrei Svechnikov goes down at one point. Brent Burns has to leave at one point, taking a puck to the neck area. What does it say just about the grit and drive of this group returning?
Yeah, I mean, Burns is eating pucks there on the PK, and thought the PK was good. We were swimming on a few plays, but all in all, we were grinding, and we had some big kills, and our special teams should have won us that game, and if we have a good 5-on-5, which we didn't, and like I said, a few mistakes, but the boys were grinding for sure.
Big thank you to the Carolina Hurricanes, along with Rod Brind'Amour and Shayne Gostisbehere and Jordan Staal on all of that. And yeah, you can clearly hear from Rod and Shayne and Jordan was the fact that just that second period and just gave them the Blues way too many chances, and it kind of hurt their rhythm being on the PK for so much in the second period. Just kind of didn't really work out. And of course, while they didn't give up any power play goals, still give up 3 in a pretty quick succession, and then just kind of unraveled. But even they said it too, just for the fact you go into a back-to-back and you kind of get your first, true test of how you're going to do it. Still battled for a good part of it and stuff like that. It just didn't really work out for the middle frame. But overall, you really can't be too upset. You split it. It is what it is. You would love to get both wins. Overall, nothing you really do about that. And it's just like you said for Piotr, yeah, you would like a couple of those back, but also too, it's like you really can't fault him when the defense kind of collapses and just gives the Blues more opportunities to put the puck on net. So it's just one of those things that really go their way, but you also love to see it too from Shayne Gostisbehere. Like I said, 3 straight games with a goal, back-to-back games with the power play goal. So you that's something you're encouraged by, for the fact that he's back. for, the next 3 seasons. Take after a year away in Detroit, he comes back and is already on a hot start, leads the team in goals. So that's a good sign to have if you're Carolina Hurricanes, and especially if you're the fans as well. But like I said, this is one of those games where you kind of have to look back and be like, hey, man, it is what it is. It didn't really work out too well. You just got to roll with it and, get ready for the gauntlet. That is the Western Canada and the Pacific Northwest part of the trip, because you got – like, so you got a game on Tuesday, then Thursday, and then Saturday, and then you followed up on, Monday to finish off in Vancouver. So you really got, you got a game every other day. So it's one of those things where you better get ready for hockey every other night, and that's including travel too, depending on if it's the night after the game or on the next day. So it's just, you better get ready for it for the next few days, and it's just hopefully something that kind of works out if you're the Hurricanes moving forward. But overall, like I said, it's unfortunate how that trip went in terms of the back-to-back, but still a lot of good things to take away. Shayne said it well, that Rod Brind'Amour and the coaching staff was putting them in great positions for the power play. Slow start in the season, 0 for 5, but now you've gotten 3 power play goals in the last couple of games. It's a good upward trajectory for the power play unit. Like I said, even for the PK too, you've gone 9 for 9 in the last 2 games combined. So that's another good thing to be, when you look at the Edmonton Oilers, who had a really hot power play last year. If you're the penalty kill units, you're feeling pretty confident going into that game to where you might be able to shut them down, especially with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and all of them. And, the Edmonton Oilers are on a slow start this year as well, so maybe you can try to capitalize on their slow start, and ride the momentum of how your PK is, and maybe you'll find a way to beat them. But, of course, we'll preview all of that for Tuesday's episode. But, like I said, just with how the special teams have been playing the last couple of games, especially against Pittsburgh and St. Louis, it's a good confidence boost going into the rest of the trip. Like I said, where you got, the Edmonton Oilers, who are struggling but still do the best players in the world. You're going to a red-hot Calgary Flames team who no one thought was going to be starting on fire this early on in the year, but you're kind of hoping that you can kind of catch them off guard. And then you just got to take care of business against the Seattle Kraken. And then, even the Canucks are on a slow start as well, but definitely don't want to overlook them, especially when you have like Elias Pettersson, JT Miller, Jake DeBrusk is there, and also Quinn Hughes, reigning Norris winner. So it's definitely going to be an interesting rusher for the Carolina Hurricanes. But overall, there's a lot to be optimistic about when it comes to this team. And that's why I think you should be optimistic if you're a Carolina Hurricanes fan. Yeah, the Blues game didn't end the way you wanted it to. You thought you had a good chance of beating them. You did make the comeback, at 3-3, but ultimately fell a little bit short. But like I said, there is optimism. There is very high optimism for this team for the rest of the road trip. They can kind of catch a lot of these teams by surprise, to where, I still think there's a good opportunity where they might take at least 9 to 10 points out of this road trip. So right now they have 2 out of a possible 4. Still have a good chance to get more against Edmonton, Calgary, Seattle, and Vancouver. So like I said, there's a lot of optimism despite the loss on Saturday against the St. Louis Blues. Speaking of teams that split over the weekend, the Chicago Wolves finally played after a week off. They went to Hershey. They played the 2-time defending Calder Cup champions, the Hershey Bears. So stick around as I'll talk about those games as well for the AHL side of things and their split. So make sure to stick around as we'll talk about that here in a second on a Monday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Where can you do that? Well, you can do that at FanDuel.com. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said, at the end of segment 2, the Chicago Wolves did come back after having a week off playing in their first game over the week, the week before against the Milwaukee Admirals for their home opener, and also Adopt a Dog Night. They went on the road to play the 2-time defending champions of the Calder, and that is the Hershey Bears. And over the weekend, you were kind of wondering how the team was going to be, especially with how just you go in your home opener, you lose 4-1, not the start you want to have to the season, but you're going into Hershey. It's one of those measuring stick games to where how are you going to fare against, like I said, the cream of the crop, the best of the best, the team that everyone's gunning for, especially the last couple of seasons. And you get a split out of it. And like I said, for the Hurricanes, we were optimistic for the road trip for the rest of the road trip for the Hurricanes. This is where you're also optimistic for the Chicago Wolves as well, because you're looking at a week where you saw Joakim Ryan go down, Tyson Jost, Brendan Lemieux also got reassigned to the Chicago Wolves. So, yeah, you see some veterans coming in more into the lineup for the Chicago Wolves. And you look at a top line that had Brendan Lemieux, Felix Unger-Storm, and Tyson Jost all weekend. You'll take that as your top line for the Chicago Wolves, where you got two, veterans where, you got some AHL experience with, Brendan Lemieux and also Tyson Jost, and especially Jost last year with the Rochester Americans in the North Division. So you're getting some mix of that veteran presence with the Chicago Wolves. And going into game one, they actually did really well, all things considered, where a lot of people were wondering how they were going to be. And, it's good to see, too, that, Ryan Suzuki, he played a great game. He got 2 assists. But how about the Bradley Nadeau scores on a midway through the second period off a great pass from Ryan Suzuki, who, Nadeau was kind of just basically wide open, made a little nifty move, beat the goaltender of Clay Stevenson. And, that's something where you'll take that, where you score the goal, you put yourself in a good situation, and, you're up 1-0. And you love to see that it's the first goal of the season for Bradley Nadeau. Welcome to the American Hockey League for the youngster, just coming out of university. So he scores his first AHL goal. And like I said, Ryan Suzuki had himself a game, 2 assists. You'll take that. And even how about we got to shout out Spencer Martin? How about for the fact that he saved 33 saves while only allowing 2, and he did get the win. And the funny part is about this game, too, is this is the first showdown between both of these teams since February 19th, 2006. So it's been a very, very long time since the Chicago Wolves and the Hershey Bears have played each other. But like I said, Spencer Martin, Nick Suzuki got the assist on the Bradley Nadeau goal. You love to see that for Bradley getting his first AHL goal. Hershey does get, a couple goals back-to-back, but then it doesn't take long for the Chicago Wolves to tie it back up, as Brendan Lemieux got his goal 13 seconds after. So he was able to just put it past Stevenson on a sharp angle, and there you go. And, Charles Alexis Legault gets the assist on Brendan Lemieux's goal, and that's actually Legault's first professional point as a rookie. So congratulations to Alexis Legault for getting his first ever professional assist, and also congratulations to Brendan Lemieux on getting his first goal of the American Hockey League. Game goes into overtime. Hershey's out shooting the Chicago Wolves 35-32 at this point. There's about 2 minutes and 5 seconds left into the overtime, and just an absolute great job by these guys to be able to pass the puck and set up their teammates. Ryan Suzuki, Felix Unger-Storm, 3-on-3, were passing the puck around, getting into the Bears zone. Suzuki has the puck, was able to find Scott Morrow, and Scott Morrow with an absolute great opportunity to go in, and was just right place, right time, and scored his first goal of the season, his first professional goal even, and it was an overtime winner against the Hershey Bears. And that's something that it's just really great to see. And the fact that you're Chicago Wolves, you go in and you do the job. You win your first game of the season. Cam Abbott gets his first win as the head coach for the Chicago Wolves. Like I said, too, you get Bradley Nadeau gets his first career AHL goal. Scott Morrow gets his first as well. Charles Alexis Legault gets his first power play assist as well. And Felix Unger-Storm gets his points as well. And if you're Ryan Suzuki, how about a game for you, man? 2 assists. You'd love to see it. And you get your first win against the Bears in your first matchup since 2006. As they say, the kids are definitely all right, and that's something you love to see. And Austin Brendan Lemieux gets his first goal in his first game with the Wolves of the season as well. So a lot to look forward to, especially like I said with Spencer Martin getting in there, stopping 33 of 35, gets the win. So it's a lot of firsts if you're the Chicago Wolves, and just something you really got to be happy about if you're Wolves fans, even if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, where you see a lot of your youngsters putting up points. So that's awesome win by them. Unfortunately, Sunday was not the same effect, as the Hershey Bears came out flying and unfortunately dominated from start to finish, as the Chicago Wolves were blanked for their second loss of the season, which puts them at 1-2-0-0, as the Hershey Bears won 5-0. I mean, it's rough to get blanked like that, losing 5-0 like that. But like I said, there's still optimism for the fact that you go into Hershey for the first time since 2006. It was your first matchup against them. You know, like I said, they're the two-time defending champs, but you go in there, you split the series, you do a great job. A lot of your youngsters score a lot of first goals, points, and all of that. Ryan Suzuki looks like he's ready to be healthy and have a great season as well, getting a couple apples in that first game. So it's a nice momentum boost if you're Cam Abbott and the Wolves as well, because you really want to put yourself in a good situation, going, after that kind of road trip to now. It's like, okay, you are ready to go where you got, a back-to-back against the Milwaukee Emeralds. Friday, October 25th at 7, you're going to be in Milwaukee, and then October 26th, you're back home that next night. So you have a home-and-home back-to-back against the Admiral. You're in Milwaukee Friday, you're back home Saturday the 26th. You're kind of hoping to build that momentum from the Hershey Bears series. You go face the Milwaukee Emeralds, who you just played, the week before. So you kind of want to avenge that 4-1 loss. And then it's not a long time after that home and home that you're back home again on the 29th against the Iowa Wild. So you have 3 pretty decent games coming up. The Wild maybe aren't to where the Milwaukee Emeralds or the Hershey Bears are, but it's the AHL. You really don't want to overlook anyone, but it's still a good opportunity to go into that. Okay, if you take at least 2 of those 3 games, you win a couple, maybe you get an overtime loss in one of them, hopefully against the Milwaukee Emeralds, you're riding on some points. If you take 5 out of a possible 6, that's phenomenal. But if you take 4 out of 6, hey, you'll gladly take that. So when you got Milwaukee back-to-back on a home and home, and you got Iowa Tuesday, at the worst, you should be getting 4 out of a possible 6. A 5 out of 6 would be phenomenal, because that means you put yourself in a good spot where you got a couple wins and you got an overtime loss somewhere in that process. But yeah, overall, like I said, a lot to be optimistic about for the Chicago Wolves as well. Like I said, you go into the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champs home, you win 1 at least. Now you got that back-to-back against Milwaukee, which is a home and home series, home and home set. And then you got Iowa. Like I said, take 5 out of 6, you're rolling, and you're feeling pretty good about yourselves. But congratulations to Scott Morrow, Charles Alexis Legault, Brian Ledoux, all getting your first goals or points, and also to Cam Abbott for getting your first win as the coach of the Chicago Wolves. But that will wrap up a Monday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. Let me know in your comments, how are you feeling about the Carolina Hurricanes and the Wolves after their back-to-backs over the weekend where they both split? Do you feel optimistic for the Hurricanes going into the Western Canada part of the trip? And how do you feel about the Wolves going into the back-to-back against the Milwaukee Emeralds later this week on Friday and Saturday? If you want to keep up with me and everything with my coverage of the Hurricanes, you can follow me at OneTrueZach. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. I do have a link tree in my bio where you can check on all my links to my articles and all the podcast stuff. If you want to find my articles, you can go to thehockeywriters.com. You'll find all my stuff for the Hurricanes and the Chicago Wolves. You can check out my other podcasts, the Searchcast. It's on podcast platforms and on YouTube. Just look up the Searchcast. For this show, Locked On Hurricanes, leave a 5-star rating review because I might just read on the show. On the YouTube side of things, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumbs up. Let me know that you liked the show as well. Like I said in the comments, let me know how you feel about after the split over the weekend for the Hurricanes and the Wolves. Do you feel optimistic just like me? But let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, to share the podcast with all other Caniacs who become everydayers just like you, because we are over 1,010 subscribers. Let's keep that going. Let's get to 2,000. Let's get to 5,000. Let's keep this train rolling. So let's make sure to share them because they become everydayers just like you. But I hope everyone enjoyed the Monday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. Hope everyone enjoys their Monday. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.